Hey, how are we doing, boys and girls? Welcome back to some more Grazing Warfare. Today is a emergency, non-scripted video. After reading a lot of comments from people on my streams, people having issues on the Discord I saw, where their frames have gone down by nearly half, or they've lost a lot of frames since updating to the Night Ops patch. It was fine before, but now it's a lot worse. And I want to see if I can give you guys a possible solution to help you, along with why you're losing those frames. So on your graphics settings, if you're an NVIDIA 40 series graphics card, you most probably haven't seen any issues because you're going to be using NVIDIA DLSS frame generation, which is the best frame generation currently on the market, right? So you're most probably using that. AMD, on the other hand, have also updated and they're using now 3.1 FSR, and Night Ops has been updated to FSR 3.1, and doing so has also given some issues to NVIDIA users. There was a post which got put out by Madfinger where FSR 3.1 is not working correctly with NVIDIA GPUs. It's basically doing some type of severe flashing, and it can potentially cause individuals with photosensitivity or epilepsy to have issues, right? So they've disabled it for this reason. Now, I don't know why they've just disabled it. I don't know why they can't just revert back to maybe FSR 3 for now, which was working for everyone at least, and then go back to 3.1 once they find the potential fix with AMD. I don't know if that's a thing. I'm not a creator or dev, so I don't really know how easy it is to just revert back to FSR 3. But there is another solution which I can provide to you if you were using this. So this is Fidelity FX frame generation. You can see here at the minute it's unsupported. Now, this is really only affecting people who are on NVIDIA GPUs, who are on the 20 series or the 30 series, and, you know, used to rely on this to get frames. So how do we actually solve this? Let's go over into that now. So to get back frame generation, if it has been disabled here, and you are one of the people I was talking about in terms of your 20 series or 30 series card, and you used to rely on this and you can't enable it, and you want to try and get some more frames back or have the game feeling a little bit more smoother, there is something you can do, right? So it's not to do in-game. In-game, you can try, obviously, things like lowering your graphics, things like that, and seeing if you can gain some type of frames per second by lowering the quality here, or mucking around with the presets with DLSS and super resolution or FSR. Try have a little go at doing things like that, obviously, first. But if you are wanting frame generation, and this is what you used before, and you want that kind of back, there's something you can do. You'll notice at the minute I have disabled my NVIDIA frame generation. We'll turn this off because we're going to be showing you something, and it's to do with an application out of game. So I'm going to go over to it now. Lossless scaling. Now, if I look at the store page for this, I think it's like £4. Yeah, it's got a sale at the minute. It's £4. Ends in the 4th of December. I use this for other games, and it basically adds their own version of frame generation. A lot of people say you're buying frames per second with this game. And it's a very positive. It's like got a lot of reviews which are very, very positive. It's a very, very good app which can help gain you FPS or upscaling games. So I use it for older games which don't support higher frames, and then you can use this application to double that frame rate. So it's a really nice little application to get from Steam. And if you do want to give it a try, it is actually pretty good. It's not too bad for Grazing Warfare 2, and it does implement like a frame generation. It's not NVIDIA frame generation, it's not FSR frame generation, it's their own version, right? So if you do buy it, this is what you want to do. You want to launch it up, and I'm going to leave a video here on how to set it up completely, or if you want to know more about it, this guy does literally a smashing job of going through it. I think it's the best video I've found on lossless scaling, where he goes through everything and talks about why each thing does certain things and how much performance you'll get for certain things. It's a really, really good video. Please, please, please give him a subscribe and link like. I'll link this in the pinned comment, but everyone here has been saying how well this video is. So please watch this if you want to go into this in more depth. I don't want to go into an in-depth guide on this. I just want to show you what I run and for Grey Zone Warfare after testing. So scaling mode I have on auto, aspect ratio I have on aspect ratio. I just left it the same. I haven't touched the scaling type because we're not upscaling or downscaling or anything, so I've left this how it is. I'm not turning this on or anything. But all I want to do is, yeah, I'm going to put this off, scaling off, because I don't want it on. But we just want the frame generation. So this may be off for you when you first start up. Turn it to LFG 2.3, and that is the newest version at the minute. So the mode basically means how much you want your frames to increase. This will increase it by 2 times, this will increase it by 3 times, and this will actually quadruple it. But the difference is image quality, and you'll start seeing more artifacts and weird things happening in the background, especially with Grey Zone Warfare, where there's so much going on screen with like vegetation and stuff. This may cause some issues, so I would most probably go with 2 times, especially with the fact that I'm making this video for people who have low frames. If you have really high frames and you're trying to like meet your refresh rate of a high refresh rate monitor, like 240 hertz, then these could actually work. If you're already getting like 120 frames or so, this wouldn't be too bad. But I would keep with X2 if you're just trying to gain some frames. Give it a go though. Obviously switch between it and you can have a little try. But yeah, keep it to X mode, resolution scale max, performance mode, have a little play. I think it's better in you put performance mode on in terms of it's going to be faster, but it's better for lower end GPUs. If you've got a better GPU though, you can have this off, but you can turn performance mode on if you want. Give it a try, muck around with it. I would mostly, if you're mostly struggling with frames on Grey Zone, I would mostly turn this on at the start and test it. Scroll down a little bit more. Rendering, I just keep this as off, allow tearing. You don't want anything on here. You don't want default or VSync on, to have it on off, allow tearing. Max frame latency, you want this on 1. If you're an AMD card, you set this to 3. If you're NVIDIA, put this to 1. This is what I kind of done a bit of research on and found out about. So yeah, put that on to 1. You want to have draw FPS on. If you have a G-Sync monitor, you can actually put G-Sync on too, and have it it'll work even better with G-Sync. But yeah, if you got G-Sync, turn it on here. Draw FPS on. Scroll down to capture, have it on WGC. The video will tell you about DXGI. You can run DXGI, but with me, because I'm running on Windows 11 24H2, it actually isn't compatible with this type of capture. So I run WGC and it works perfectly fine. And then preferred GPU, if you've got another GPU or a integrated GPU on your motherboard, make sure you select your GPU you're using, your NVIDIA GPU. And then output display, I just select the display I'm using, the monitor where my game is going to be on, which is this one. And that is it. This is now set up. So this is all you have to do with loss of scaling. This is pretty much ready to go, and we'll activate this in a minute. Just something you may want to do in game is look at your frames per second in game and see what you're getting. Now, if you are getting 60 frames a second in most areas and it's pretty stable, then you do want to make sure that you go to your settings, either in game or using MSI Afterburner or the NVIDIA control panel, and just capping your frames, right? So cap it to 60 FPS. Apply, right? And you can see now we're capped at 60 FPS. Now, if you now go over to the loss to scaling, you do is click scale, and it's going to count down for 5, and you just click your application before it does that, and wait and see what happens. Now, you'll see now there's a new counter at the top left, just above my little character with it, where the stance can change, right? You can now see that we are now rocking 113 frames a second. So it says 50 on the counter for Grey Zone, but it's not counting the fake frames. If you look at the top left, it's now giving me 113 frames. Now, if I look at this, I am actually, it feels like I'm using NVIDIA frame generation again, like what I normally use, and it's nice and smooth. It doesn't feel like I'm running 60 frames a second. It definitely feels like I'm running really higher frames per second. Now, again, you can up this. So if I now go back to up here, I can click unscale. I can then maybe go to X. Let's just do X4 just to see the extremity, and click scale, and then go back. Wait again. Boom. We're now running at 100 frames a second, 170 frames a second. To be honest, it's not too bad. I'm not getting like the most insane things, you know, screen tearing, but it's going to be affected by your frames per second, your initial frames per second. So I would 100% run NOS scaling at only 2 times, maybe 3 times, but at least 2 or 3 times. I wouldn't go with 4. Now, if you're running, if you can't hit 60 frames a second, you definitely want to make sure you're only on the 2 times. Go over to here and cap this at 30 frames. And then again, go on to here. You can see that it's saying only 30. Make sure you're on 2 times, scale. And now if we wait, at the top left, we're now meeting our 60 frames a second, which it does feel we're back at 60 frames. And that's going to be a smooth 60 frames a second, right? You're going to be a really smooth 60 frames a second. So if you're not meeting your 60 and you just want to maybe get 60 frames a second and have it nice and smooth at least, go for that, right? Cap your frames at 30 and then choose the X2. We've now got 60 frames a second for Grey Zone Warfare. You're going to see artifacts though if you're at lower frames per second. Frame generation works better the higher your frames are, basically. So when you go at lower frames, you may see more artifacts and stuff like happening around the edge of the screen and things like that. But it is a good fix, at least for now. It can help you gain more frames per second, so you can enjoy Grey Zone Warfare. That's all I wanted to put out. Again, if you are wanting to use this and you want to know more in depth about how everything works, going through like things like the settings here, all that kind of stuff, I would 100% watch this. I'm going to leave this link in the pinned comment down below for you so you can give it a watch, and I hope it helps. I hope it works at least, and hopefully they can get FSR 3.1 enabled for you guys so you can use the in-game frame generation. But at least for now, we do have loss to scaling and it can help you. A little tidbit, remember, frame generation will add input latency to your game, so that's just something you got to remember and consider when you enable frame generation. But if you want to have more frames, it is a good way of doing so. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon for some more Grey Zone Warfare.